Welcome to this EliteParks webinar. Today we will be looking at safety tests in EliteParks. My name is Kim and I'm a lead consultant within Elite Dynamics. During today's session, we will be discovering the options available in EliteParks to manage periodic safety tests. We'll watch a demonstration of adding safety tests to a unit before we also then look at the process of managing the completion of safety tests via the safety test journal. And we can now watch a demonstration within EliteParks to show how this works. We'll start by looking at safety test types. And safety test types allows you to then manage various different types of safety tests that would need to be completed periodically. So we have an electric test and a gas safety test in here as an example. What we can also then do against these safety test types is hold a test frequency. And the test frequency is calculated using date formulas within EliteParks to determine, after the last safety test has taken place, when would the next safety test fall due. So against our electricity test, our frequency is 3Y, meaning 3 years. Therefore, the next test would be calculated 3 years from the last test date. Our gas safety test has a test frequency of 12M, which means 12 months. Therefore, this test would fall once a year, and the next test date would be calculated 12 months from the last test that happened. Now, if we look at our units, we'll firstly look at unit number 1. So the safety test is set up against the unit itself. And I can navigate to safety tests by going to the setup option on the ribbon and into safety tests. And I can see against unit number 1 that we already have a safety test set up and ready to happen. The last test date was the 4th of February 2021, and based on that test frequency, we have this auto-calculated next test date for the 4th of February 2022. To set up new safety tests against units, you would go into the same place against the unit card in our setup option and safety test. For me to then add a new safety test, I can select the new option from the ribbon, select my safety test type. Once that safety test has been set up, we're then ready to enter the information next time we run the safety test journal. The safety test journal is then used to record when safety tests happen. You can also use this to record things like your certificate number that is issued by maybe the contractor that carries out the safety test. So within my safety test journal, I have multiple journal batches that can be selected. I'm going to select this gas safety test because the safety test that I'm looking to run today is for gas. You also have the option in here to select which park code you want to look at in particular. So where you do have multiple parks, you can run a journal per park and manage those individual journals per park. Once I've selected my batch name and park code, I can then populate the journal, and populating the journal will pull through a list of all safety tests that are due to be completed up until a certain date. Within my filters, I'm going to set my next test date as everything up until the end of February to make sure that we can capture everything that should have been completed before the end of February. And I'll also filter to make sure that the safety test type we're looking at is for the gas safety checks. What this then returns is a list of all units that currently hold the gas safety test against them. They've all had previous safety tests recorded, and we're now ready to start recording the new information for when that next test happens. And this is something that once you've populated the journal, you can navigate away from the journal. Someone else could go into the journal to enter the information until you get to the point where you've actually completed all of the information needed and posted the journal. This will stay for multiple users to maybe come into and update the information in here. Once this has been populated, then there are a few different options as to how you can complete the information. One of the more manual options would be to print a version of this safety test journal. I'm going to switch this on to ensure I include all completed lines. And if we then just do a preview, this generates a document for us that can be printed from EliteParks. It can be handed out to maybe the contractor that is due to carry out these safety tests for them to record the information down before passing that back to someone in the office to then record the information within EliteParks itself. An alternative to this would be maybe where it's not a third party carrying out these safety tests and it's actually someone within maybe the maintenance team on a park. So rather than complete this on a printable version, the information can be completed directly within EliteParks. And this could be on the desktop version of EliteParks to simply record the date that the test happened, the certificate number that has been issued for that safety test. And we could then say this was issued internally by maintenance. You also then do have this comment section available within the safety test journal to record any notes that may be needed as part of that test having been carried out. The other option that you have is to actually have this safety test journal completed by maybe the maintenance team when they're actually out on the park carrying out these checks. And they can do this by using a tablet version of EliteParks, or alternatively, this could also be completed on the phone. So in the tablet version that we're looking at now, I can navigate from my role center to the same safety test journal. A user then has the options of completing this information within the safety test journal whilst they are carrying out that test on the park, rather than having to do that as a task maybe once it's been carried out, going back to the office and then filling the information out within EliteParks. The final stage then, once all of your safety tests have been completed, would be to post the safety test journal. So within the safety test journal, I can select this post option. And what happens when I post this is that all of those safety tests then get recorded against the unit. So if I now navigate back to my units and we look at unit number 1, where we started with the example of a safety test already being held against this unit, I can now see the last safety test date, the certificate number for that last safety test, and when that next test is due to happen. I can also navigate from here to look at the actual safety test entries. So if we needed to look at the history of safety tests that have been carried out, we've got all of that history held against the unit as well. Hopefully that demonstration has given you some insight into how safety tests can be used. If you have any questions in relation to what we've covered today, please get in touch with your account manager directly and they should be able to assist you further. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar.